Hey, colleagues, welcome back for another episode of the Read Write Mike podcast. This is episode 11. And as we have been, we will continue to talk about the vocabulary curriculum for right now, thinking of moving into some other topics pretty soon. But today I wanted to talk about vocabulary and assessment in the curriculum, word love. And that's what we'll go over today. It'll be pretty brief, talk a little bit about assessment, and that'll be our time together. So let's start with some of the assessments that you'll see in Word Love vocabulary curriculum. You'll see two different versions. One is a version that asks kids to apply their knowledge of the word, to sort of think about how they know the word goes, and they have to make an inference based on that knowledge of the word. So what you see here's an example. From the Bend 3 of Up the Ladder reading fiction unit. It says, Jamila saw her friends chattering, that's the vocabulary word, chattering, and started to cry. Why might this have happened? And so what students have to do is they have to use their knowledge of the word chattering and make an inference of how that could be connected to this instance of chattering starting to make her cry. And so a response could be something along the lines of, maybe she heard her friends chattering and saying mean things about her or something behind her back, and that made her cry, or whatever it was. Another example, it says, Fernando looked at the cake with disgust. Why might he have done that? And what I try to do is I try to make things that aren't quite as obvious. Like, why would you look at a cake with disgust? So that if you didn't really know what the word disgust means, you might assume that, there's some positive reason, and that would show that the kid doesn't really know the word. So if the kid said, oh, because he was excited to eat the cake, then the kid doesn't really know what disgust might mean. However, if they do know what disgust means after you've taught the word, kids would say, perhaps it was a flavor he didn't like. It was vanilla, and he doesn't like vanilla. Or, maybe the the dog had taken a big bite out of it and that looked gross. That made it gross. Things of that nature. So you'll notice that in the first option, kids have to apply the knowledge of the word through some sort of inference in a scenario that I will provide, and they have to give a brief written response. They could, of course, give a verbal response depending on how you are giving access to students. The second version of the assessment that I gave is very just straightforward. Is like, what's the most likely meaning of this word? Just a brief multiple choice, a very straightforward and pretty easy assessment. I just wanted to give other options, for teachers as you're implementing this. Whatever you think is a way that can show that kids know the word. That's really the idea. Whatever satisfies you, that, in that regard. So, for example, with the word chatter, the straightforward question might sound like this: what is the most likely meaning of chatter? A, to be quiet and not say anything. B, to talk about anything. C, only to talk about important, serious things. Right. So sometimes there's a little bit of distractors. The best answer choice would be B in this regard, but it was just a simple, straightforward answer. Now, you, of course, could develop other assessments if you find there are other ways for kids to show what they know. Other assessments could be write a sentence and fill in the blank. Another kind of assessment could be some sort of true or false statement. True or false, this word means this. This is an example of this word, true, false. You could also say, write it in a sentence, write all the words in the paragraph. Excuse me. As I said, whatever you think is a way for kids to show what they know. However you decide to do this with your assessment, I would say that a good benchmarks for success and, perhaps moving on would be that 80% of your kids, score 80% or more on the assessment, right? So 4 out of every 5 kids can show you that they know 4 out of 5 of every single word. Below that, then we might be curious about, I don't know, maybe bringing the word back into the next unit, the upcoming unit. Maybe you spend a little bit more time on it. I leave that decision to you, how to proceed from the assessment, so that kids are doing well. And stay on the hashtag. We've got our hashtag word love. People who are piloting and now conducting the unit will share with you some of the things that they've been doing with regard to the assessment. You might get some other good ideas that you enjoy and that you appreciate, and that, again, you think kids can show what they know through this manner. So I wish you luck in your assessing. And, summative assessment is a way to, make sure that kids have learned well the things that we've taught. And so it's an important assessment. And as we move on, some other things we might talk about in our upcoming time together may include talking about the slides. Slides have just been introduced. If you'd like to get some access to them, I'm thinking about making some asynchronous videos, if that would be helpful. And those are some other things that we'll talk about, like how can you use them? Are slides even a good way to teach? Are slides even a good medium to teach through? Things of that nature. Till then, I hope you're doing well. I think most school districts have started by now. I hope you're not feeling too exhausted. I'm hearing across the country that it's just really exhausting, especially this year. The teachers are feeling really tired. So I hope you are keeping your energy up. I'm here to cheer you on and be at your side as you're working specifically through word, love, vocabulary, curriculum. And I'll see you next time. Take care.